So here we are, guys. One final hurrah for The Mandalorian Season 3. The finale drops tomorrow. That's gone by so quickly. This season has been a lot of fun, and I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you who watch my videos, who comment, who like. I appreciate this community so much, more than I could ever express in words. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Now, over this past week, I've posted a few videos on predictions, theories, expectations for Chapter 24, but now we're so close to the last episode of Season 3, and finding out how and if Djarin escapes Moff Gideon's custody. So as with all episode previews that I do, we're gonna go through everything we know about the finale, but first, we have some new character posters. The first is of IG-12, not IG-11, IG-12 with Grogu controlling him. This was the second present that Din received from the High Magistrate Greef Karga upon arriving back on Navarro. The Anzellans did not need a memory circuit, but rather someone controlling it, and Grogu is that someone. He can now hit the yes or no button to communicate and also break up fights between Mandalorians. Probably the best character development for him all season, at least there's that. Now, a lot of fans have been predicting that for the final episode, Grogu's gonna have some kind of major involvement. Let's see if that ends up being the case. Is he gonna save the day? Is he gonna be the one to ride the Mythosaur? I don't think so. I think it's gonna be Bo-Katan, but you never know. Some fans are adamant because he tamed the Mudhorn, then in the book of Boba Fett's the Rancor. So is our little green friend gonna be the one to tame the legendary Mandalorian creature? Regardless, going into future seasons, Grogu's new mech suit, his IG unit, is going to come in handy, although having a 50-year-old toddler in charge of it might have some downsides when the child gets hungry, and Djarin knows this best. A lot to learn Grogu still has. Now, the second poster is of the Praetorian Guard. The colours of this poster are so satisfying. In a previous video, I broke down the differences between these early Mandalorian-looking prototypes and the ones we see later in The Last Jedi, but these guys are badass, and in a big way, Season 3 deserves a lot of credit for incorporating elements of the sequel trilogy really well. This is something I've been saying for the last 2 years. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau know there was a lot of fan backlash to those films, so they want to shed a better light on 7, 8 and 9 by favourably giving them some more context and making them make more sense. There's probably not going to be many direct connections because we're 25 years out, but they're slowly and surely building up to it, like political context, how the New Republic fell, the rise of the First Order from the Remnant, what Brendel Hux is doing with Project Necromancer, the Praetorian Guard, and then smaller connections, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, like the Anzellans. It is all one major story, and the small links are satisfying, because even if you're not the biggest sequels fan, they're including this stuff in a very clever way, with added twists, context, stories, and much better storytelling than those films. Again, as I say, not a direct link, but one that feeds into later parts of the timeline. I see nothing wrong with this, and wouldn't be surprised if we get more connections tomorrow, and of course in Season 4 and the Ahsoka show. Now, overall, I would say this season's been something of a rollercoaster. Despite my criticisms, you can't deny that we're finally getting answers that we've been seeking ever since Season 1. More to do with Moff Gideon, how he got the Darksaber, how Bo-Katan lost it between Star Wars Rebels and Mando. I think we're finding out more about the Armourer, and we're seeing the unification of Mandalore, which was in the plans from day one, and in the earliest concept art too. And in the most recent episode, Chapter 23 at the time of making this video, things came together nicely. Were there episodes I didn't care for? Absolutely, but it's important to remember that Season 3 isn't even the halfway mark of the Mandoverse. As an audience, we have to look at the bigger picture, and hopefully tomorrow this last episode is going to make some of those make more sense, or at the very least, give fans good reason to still be as invested as we were going into this one. And just to let you know, I will be doing a full season review sometime next week, but I want to wait till the finale's out to properly judge it on the whole. Now, speaking of getting answers, one thing we still don't know is why since Season 1, Moff Gideon is obsessed with Djarin. He wants his blood. Is there something he knows that we don't? And now that Din is in custody, is he going to reveal why it's so important to him? And I'm still convinced that grievous-looking spider thing in the mines was placed there by Moff Gideon. I've seen some very good theories explaining why. This could have been a trap placed by the Remnant for any surviving Mandos. After all, Gideon has a base out there. So I do think this last episode is going to give us some revelations, some answers, and as Jon Favreau said, it's going to be very satisfying. Dave Filoni also teased we're going to be cheering, and Brendan Wayne says there is still more tragedy to come, so I really don't know what to make of it, but what I will say is I'm super excited but also quite nervous. The episode is just under 39 minutes in length, directed by Rick Famuyiwa and written by Jon Favreau. I've also noticed that Emily Swallow's been teasing quite a few things on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. She seems to suggest there is something really big in the finale to do with her character. Is the armor the spy? Is she working for Moff Gideon? Did she make a deal with him? Some say yes, while others think it's impossible, because Gideon didn't know the tribe and the Night Owls were working together on Navarro. I still don't trust her though, and I do think some big things are to come. My one wish for her character is that we do find out who she is. I would love if she removed her helmet or we found out her name. Is she rock cast? Was she loyal to Maul? And how does Bo-Katan know her? I think as a fandom we really want answers. Now if you saw my video the other day titled "We need to talk about the Mandalorian Season 3 finale," you would have heard me say I really hope for a post-credit scene, and I predicted it might be Grand Admiral Thrawn, but I'm also thinking, what if they tease another Mandoverse show? Maybe the Book of Boba Fett, another Mandalorian spin-off, and I think it could be the rumoured project which is called Ghost Track 17. That was its code name, and we deduced it might be a Bo-Katan spin-off. If she ends up riding the Mythosaur and takes the spotlight, maybe she's going to be the protagonist going forward. Alternatively, they're going to give her her own show. Just a theory and just a thought. With this last episode of Season 3, all eyes are on Moff Gideon, Djarin and Bo-Katan. I think Gideon has more forces up his sleeve, not just his super commandos, not just the Praetorians, but maybe others. Maybe the final stage of the Dark Troopers, which he did say have him in it. He's trying to clone himself, and I would love if the New Republic heroes, or heroes from Tatooine, or both, come and save the day. I predict a huge final battle, where Bo-Katan rises up on the Mythosaur and defeats Moff Gideon for good. But is he gonna die? That's another central question. I think he's gonna be sent back into the shadows, and the big bad of what we call the Mandalorian universe, Grand Admiral Thrawn, is gonna reveal himself right at the end. That's what I would predict, but again, this is just speculation. And I'll also say this, Rick Famuyiwa said that the final episode has a payoff for Book of Boba Fett fans. Do you think if Boba Fett and Fennec show up, we're also gonna see Cobb Vanth modded up with his new enhancements? Is he going to help save the day? And at the end, when they go back to Navarro, is Greef going to give him the position of Marshal? After all, Cara Dune was sent off to Special Forces. So Greef Karga needs someone. That'd be an amazing way to wrap up the season. But as some fans have said, would Cobb really leave Tatooine? He loves Freetown, Mos Pelgo, and the people there so much. So would he decline? But if Timothy Oliphant appears in Season 3's finale, I think the fandom would cheer. But I will say if there's one certainty as for the action sequences, it's the Mythosaur rising up. That's going to be eye candy, visually spectacular. But share your thoughts and predictions in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Tomorrow we're breaking down chapter 24. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.